Mr. Squidward, welcome to the night shift.
Hello again, folks, and happy Saturday. Welcome into a brand new edition of The Night Shift. This is episode 52. I'm your host for tonight, Isaiah Leung, and tonight it's going to be the final solo episode of The Night Shift for me, as my guy, Callan McClurg, will be coming back to The Night Shift starting next week, I believe. So it'll be great to have Callan back on The Night Shift, but this is the final solo program for me. Next week it'll be me and Callan, but final program, got lots of stuff to talk about, a lot of NBA stuff, a lot of playoffs drama today. We had a great slate of games here on this Saturday. And folks, you know, like I've been saying for the last couple of days, I believe that this is going to be the best playoffs that we've seen in the last 5 to 10 years. Because when you look at a lot of these matchups, they have a lot of storyline and a lot of drama going into them. And I believe that all of these matchups are going to live up to the hype. And also, you know, like Richard Jefferson, who was commentating for ESPN today, said in the Clippers-Mavericks game, he believes that a lot of these series are going to be going 6 or 7 games, and I share the same sentiment. I really believe that a lot of these series are going to go 6 to 7 games. A lot of these teams are just so close in terms of talent, and I just don't see, you know, a team really pulling away from the other team. So it's going to be a great playoffs, and we already had a lot of tremendous games here on this Saturday. But before we get into these games, folks, feel free to get into the comment section and fire away your thoughts and your questions, and I will read them live here on the air. We got a couple of comments that have flooded in here tonight. My guy, Callan McClurg, my co-host, who is coming back to the night shift after a 4-month hiatus. He says, "Hey, Leung, you're being watched." Callan, I'm so glad that you're watching this program tonight. So thankful that you're watching this program. Can't wait to have you back next week here on the night shift. Also, Casey King says, "Good evening, Isaiah." What's going on, Casey? I hope you enjoyed a wonderful slate of NBA action as well as baseball action that we had today in the world of sports. And also Casey says, and yes, welcome back, Callan, next weekend. Share the same sentiment. Can't wait to have Callan back on the night shift next weekend. And also, my guy, Brandon Herrera, says better get some sleep before tomorrow. If you guys don't know what he's talking about, Brandon is referring to me having to face off against J-Mac, and I believe there's one other person in Jeopardy tomorrow, which you can catch on the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. The link is down right over here, folks. You can catch it right here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Your boy will be defending his crown on the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network's trivia show. We're going to be playing Jeopardy just like we did last week, and I can't wait to, you know, square off with J-Mac and all the other guys that will be on the show. It's going to be a fun, entertaining day. But folks, going into the NBA segment for tonight, our first game in the NBA, we will start off with the Heat and the Bucks, the rematch of last season's second round. And this game lived up to the hype as the Milwaukee Bucks and the Miami Heat, they went toe-to-toe, back and forth. It all went down to the wire, and the Milwaukee Bucks pull off a shocking Game 1 win over the Miami Heat. Chris Middleton with a game-winning jumper with, I believe, 0.2 seconds left in the ball game to lift the Milwaukee Bucks to a victory over the Miami Heat. And folks, my thoughts on this game is that if Game one was any indication of how this series is going to turn out, we are in for a treat because this game was back and forth, back and forth. Two teams playing extremely good basketball, going at it. You know, the Heat started off the first quarter. They got off to a 24-22 lead. The Milwaukee battling back. They closed the gap. They took a lead at halftime, and then the Heat, they come back in the third quarter. You know, they punched the Bucks right back into the mouth and they closed the gap. And then it was the Miami Heat, being the resilient team that they are, they battled back as well in the fourth, tied the game. And then in overtime, it just came down to that final shot by Chris Middleton, a pull-up jumper from, I believe, 20 feet away. He knocks it down with 0.2 seconds left. And, you know, the Miami Heat really don't have anything to hang their head upon because the Miami Heat played a really good game. It took some luck by the Milwaukee Bucks and a lucky shot for the Milwaukee Bucks to win this basketball game. Chris Middleton, that was a very hard shot that he hit. It was good defense by the Miami Heat, and it was just better offense by the Milwaukee Bucks. And I don't think the Miami Heat really have anything, you know, to hang their head upon because they played a really good game. They just lost on a really lucky shot by Chris Middleton. You know, Jimmy Butler, I think he needs to play better. However, he played 46 minutes, only had 17 points, 10 rebounds. He was ice cold for a majority of this game. Duncan Robinson had a good game, 24 points in 36 minutes of play. Kendrick Nunn, 10 points. Goran Dragic, 10 points. You know, maybe the only thing that I could see Miami hanging their head upon is the fact that guys like Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, who are so big for them, had poor offensive performances in this basketball game. You know, like we said, Jimmy Butler, 17 points, was ice cold from the perimeter this entire game. Tyler Hero, only 10 points. These guys need to get back to what they were when they beat the Bucks in the Orlando bubble. If they can get back to how they played in the bubble, I think the Miami Heat will be just fine. But you got to give a shout out to the Bucks. They played a really good basketball game, and you know they take the early 1-0 lead in this series. And I'm hoping that this series goes, you know, neck and neck, coast to coast. It goes down to the wire, and we have a good 7-game series because I think this is shaping up to be that heavyweight fight that I described on No BS on Friday. But folks, give me your thoughts on this game. We really want to hear what you guys have to say about this game. Brandon Herrera says LBJ should be out of the first round. Brandon, I don't know what you're drinking or what you're smoking, my man, but that's a crazy take, man. There is no way that LeBron James is losing to the Phoenix Suns. Listen, I love the Phoenix Suns. I love Devin Booker. He's my guy. I've been a big Devin Booker fan for the last couple of seasons. But the Phoenix Suns, they have the guys to compete with the Lakers on the perimeter. But the Phoenix Suns do not have the front court to be able to go toe-to-toe with the Lakers. I think Drummond, AD, Harrell, Gasol, LeBron, they're going to go into the paint on Sunday and just stand in the paint and dominate and bully the Phoenix Suns in the paint. And I think that's how the Lakers are going to not only win this game, but win the series. Is their size advantage over the Phoenix Suns is going to end up prevailing, and they are going to end up taking this series, I believe, because they are just more bigger than the Phoenix Suns, and I think they're just going to bully the Phoenix Suns in the paint. Casey King says Bucks versus Heat was a great game, and this series, like I predicted, will go the distance, and today's game could have gone either way. Totally agree with you on that, Casey. Great point. But moving on to our second game of this NBA quadruple header, and we go to Staples Center, where the Clippers, the Los Angeles Clippers, after last season's playoff choke, the Los Angeles Clippers falter again, this time in game one against Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. The Clippers, they falter to the Mavs by a final score of 113-103. And folks, Folks, about this game, listen, I watched this game from start to finish. I thought that the Mavericks, they came out and I think they heard all the noise. A lot of people will be talking about the Clippers, talking about the Utah Jazz, talking about the Suns, talking about the Lakers, and talking about the Nuggets. Not a lot of people have been talking about this Dallas Mavericks team. And I think this Dallas Mavericks team, they came out and were ready to show the Clippers that, hey, you might have beaten us last season in the bubble, but it's going to be much tougher for you guys against us this season because Dallas went out. The problem with Dallas was they had two issues last season. They weren't really that tough. They let the Clippers bully them, especially in games 5 and game 6. You could see that clearly. And also, they got shooters to surround Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis. And I think that really showed in this game the much improved shooting, especially from downtown by the Dallas Mavericks. Luka was sensational in the first 3 quarters. He was ice cold in the fourth quarter, but it wasn't just Luka. It was guys like Dorian Finney-Smith knocking down like key threes, adding 18 points in 37 minutes of play. Then you have, Max Kleber with clutch rebounds after clutch rebounds in the end. Jalen Brunson, when the Clippers had, woken up in the second half, they had closed the gap and taken the lead. Jalen Brunson, couple of possessions, driving into the basket, getting a couple of and ones to keep the Dallas Mavericks afloat in this game. Jalen Brunson, he looked like a 10-year vet compared to the second-year player that he is, and he made a big difference out there on the basketball court. And then you had guys like you talk about Tim Hardaway Jr. stepping up when it mattered the most. 21 points, clutch threes down the stretch in this game, especially when the Clippers were kind of taking control of the game and taking the momentum from the Dallas Mavericks. Hardaway Jr. knocks down a couple of threes, and the Mavericks tie the game or take the lead back again. It was these unsung heroes that gave Dallas this win. It wasn't just Luka. Luka was great. Like I said, 31 points, 11 rebounds, or 10 rebounds, 11 assists, triple-double, 41 minutes of play. But it was the other guys stepping up when Luka was ice cold and making a difference in this game. That is what I think gave the Dallas Mavericks the victory here in game 1. I think for the Clippers, when you look at the Clippers, I think what really hurt the Clippers was missed free throws down the stretch, and also, like I said, the Mavericks players just playing outstanding or the reserves playing outstanding basketball down the stretch. You look at the missed free throws. I believe that Marcus Morris, with I think 2 minutes and 6 seconds left, and I think the Mavericks had like a 2-point or 3-point lead. Might be wrong on that, but it was somewhere in that range. Marcus Morris steps up to the line, and he's a really good free throw shooter. He's a typical good free throw shooter, and he steps up to the line, and he misses both free throws. I think that's what really killed the Clippers, because after he missed those 2 free throws, Kawhi, next possession, he comes in, he missed, I believe he missed 1 of 2. He had some really critical missed free throws down the stretch. Other guys started missing free throws. That's kind of what really killed the Clippers. I think that was the turning point of this game, was the Marcus Morris missed free throws, because after that, you could just see from the body language of the Clippers that they started playing lackluster, and they weren't playing as motivated or as energized like before Marcus Morris stepped to the line. And I think that when Marcus Morris missed those free throws, I think the Clippers could just sense it, like, hey, that this is just not our night, this is just not our game. And they pretty much gave that game to the Mavericks after that, because Dallas went on a big run to seal the deal and take game 1 from the Clippers. So I think what Tyronn Lue and the Clippers have to do to get game 2 is, obviously they got to defend better from the perimeter. Dallas was red hot from 3. I don't expect them to be scorching hot from 3 in game 2. I think they're going to cool down a bit. But you got to keep your composure, in the second half, especially like after guys miss critical free throws, get off the deck and keep competing, because that's what you got to do instead of just, laying down and conceding the game to the Dallas Mavericks. That's what I think the Clippers have to do. I think the Clippers will be all right. I think this was a wake up call for the Clippers. But this is going to be a great series. Like I said, with Heat Bucks and now Clippers and Mavericks, I think that these two series, I think both of them will go the distance, because these two teams, the Clippers and the Mavs, they're super evenly matched. But going into our comment section, we had a couple of comments from Casey King. He says that, boy, the Clippers, they looked like a bunch of Higgins. They really did, especially down the stretch in that game. Brandon Herrera says LeBron James should be benched for breaking COVID rules. But Brandon, you and I both know, we followed the NBA for a long time, and we both know that Adam Silver is not going to suspend his superstars, especially in a big game or in the playoffs, because he wants that money, man. He wants that money. He's not going to do it. I knew the NBA, they were never going to suspend LeBron James. Maybe fine him, but not suspend him at all. James Gonzalez, our resident Clippers fan, says he's so mad at the Clippers today. Dorian Finney-Smith was awesome. Yeah, Finney-Smith was tremendous down the stretch in that game, especially when the Mavericks were kind of waning in around the 5-6 minute mark of that fourth quarter. And James says, I'm worried if the Clippers lose Tuesday, then the series is over. I agree. I think that's a big game for the Los Angeles Clippers. If they lose on Tuesday, they could just, think back to last season and have those memories once again and think like, oh my gosh, we're down 2-0. This might as well just be over for the Clippers. Casey King says, I picked Clips in 6, but boy, the way they look today, they may be out in this round. And how quickly in 4 or 5 games they look like the typical Clippers in the postseason today. I mean, I think it also had to do with the fact that the Mavericks were just like red hot from 3. And I think that the Clippers, they just missed a lot of free throws. They killed themselves with the free throws that they typically make, and, some crucial turnovers, especially late in that game. But I think the Clippers will be fine. I think they'll bounce back. But they just have to defend better from the 3-point range. And then Casey King says the next game for the Clippers is a must-win. Definitely agree with you on that, Casey. And James Gonzalez says Pandemic P is back. Well, James, I don't really think it's fair for him to be called Pandemic P after today, because Paul George did show up. He showed up in the second half. It was guys like Morris, Zubac, Batum, who had been hot. He didn't show up that much. It was more of the supporting cast not showing up in the second half, and also Kawhi Leonard missing a couple of critical free throws down the stretch that really killed your Los Angeles Clippers. But folks, give me your thoughts about what you guys think about the Heat, and the Bucks, and also the Clippers and the Mavs in Game 1, as the Mavericks stunned the Clippers at the Staples Center to take Game 1 of that best-of-7 Western Conference Series by a score of 113-103. But folks, moving on to our third game of tonight, we have the Celtics and Nets, Game 1 from Brooklyn, New York. And the Brooklyn Nets rally and they come back and they beat the Boston Celtics by a final score of 104-93. The Brooklyn Nets, their big three of Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden combined for 82 points in their first playoff game together, while for the Celtics, Jason Tatum was limited to just 22 points in 41 minutes of play. He did have 5 assists. Also, Marcus Smart had 17 points, Kemba Walker 15 points in 27 minutes of play. Folks, this is kind of what I expected, because the Brooklyn Nets, you knew they hadn't played in a long time, that they were going to be rusty, and that they were going to come out slow, and the Boston Celtics were going to take a lead, and the Nets would rally back and win this game because they were just the more talented team. This was basically Boston running out of gas because they're missing a lot of key players. Jaylen Brown, huge loss for the Boston Celtics. If he was there, this would have been a totally different game and a totally different series. But he's not there. The Celtics only have 2 stars while the Nets have 3, and it showed in today's game. Jason Tatum, he only had 22 points. He was very inefficient in this game. Kevin Durant played outstanding defense on Jason Tatum all night long. And, he made Jason Tatum work for every shot that he got. And I think that was one of the biggest keys as to why the Celtics faltered late in that game, because the Celtics started off hot and then they just ran out of gas because Tatum, he wasn't producing up to the standards that we saw. Kemba Walker was in foul trouble all game long, and when those guys are in foul trouble or not producing, the Celtics just don't have a chance. Marcus Smart, he can't be your best offensive player outside Jason Tatum and Kemba Walker. He's more of a defensive specialist. Robert Williams was great on the defensive side of the ball. He had 11 points and 9 rebounds and 9 blocks, but he only had 11 points. Jabari Parker, great on the defensive side of the ball, 9 points in this game, not so much on offense. Tristan Thompson, 4 points, 10 rebounds. The Celtics, they just couldn't get any scoring from guys outside of Tatum and Kemba Walker, their 2 top players. And, if the Celtics are going to have a chance to upset the Brooklyn Nets, they're going to have to get more from guys like Evan Fournier, Marcus Smart, Tristan Thompson, Jabari Parker, Robert Williams, and even their young rookie Peyton Pritchard, who I thought Brad Stevens should play more in that game. The Boston Celtics, they just looked overmatched. They are overmatched in this series because Jaylen Brown's not there, but they just looked overmatched. And if Boston somehow, someway wants to contend with the Nets, they got to get more production from their supporting cast outside of Tatum and Kemba Walker. And those guys, if these guys are having those types of performance where Kevin Durant's making it hard for him on the offensive side, he's inefficient, and Kemba Walker's in foul trouble and the other guys aren't producing, it's going to be a long, long series for the Boston Celtics, or it's going to be a short series for the Boston Celtics, and they're going to have a bunch of long nights against the Brooklyn Nets because Brooklyn is just way too talented. They have a great starting lineup. They have a great bench, and they're just more talented right now than the injury-riddled Boston Celtics. So I think that the series is going to end probably in a sweep or in 5 games because, like me and Ace and others have been saying on the MI6 Sports Network on Wild Sports Talk, the Celtics, they first of all, there's just something not right with them, and they're just been riddled by injuries, and they are just overmatched right now. And you saw that today where the Celtics got off to a great start. Brooklyn's big 3 took over, and the Celtics just ran out of gas in that second half. James Gonzalez says the Nets are winning that series in a sweep or 5 games. I'm going to agree with you on that, James. I had actually picked I believe I picked, looking back on my bracket, I'm trying to find it right now, but I think I picked the Nets to win in 7, but that's probably not going to happen anymore as the Celtics just look really overmatched. My guy, Adam Barber, Ace, he says, Isaiah Leung, what's up, my man? Nothing much, man. A lot of great NBA action today on the schedule. It was a great first day of the playoffs. A lot of great games. Hopefully the rest of the playoffs can live up to what happened today. But, man, looking forward to that Jeopardy trivia show tomorrow, Ace. Looking forward to defending my title, and also looking forward to the Lakers and the Phoenix Suns. That's going to be a great game between LeBron James and the Lakers against Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns. But moving on to our final NBA playoff game for tonight, we have the Portland Trail Blazers going up against the Denver Nuggets at the Mile High City, and it's the Portland Trail Blazers, the 6th seed Portland Trail Blazers, pull off the upset over the Denver Nuggets by a final score of 123-109 to take Game 1 and also to take a 1-0 lead. And folks, about this game, this game, I felt like Portland had just control of this game from start to finish. It was a great game, close game between these both teams. But like I've been saying all along, why the Nuggets aren't going to win this series, it's because Jamal Murray is out and also because Will Barton is out. And those two guys are two of Denver's most important perimeter players. And Portland, they've got a great backcourt with Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. And Denver, even though they have a good front court with Aaron Gordon, McGee, Jokic, and the rest of the guys, what wins now in the NBA is perimeter play. And if you can't stop the opposing team's perimeter play, you are toast. And that's what happened in this game. Denver, minus Jamal Murray, minus Will Barton, also minus Gary Harris, who they traded away to the Orlando Magic, who was a great defender for the Denver Nuggets. They just couldn't stop Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. Damian Lillard, 34 points, 13 assists. He was outstanding in this game from start to finish. He was clutch from three, especially in that fourth quarter. McCollum added 21 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists in 36 minutes of play. I think that was the big reason why the Portland Trailblazers steamrolled the Nuggets in this game one. It's because of the play of Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum and also Carmelo Anthony as well. Returning to Denver, hearing the boos. He got off to a scorching start. I believe he had like 12 points in that first quarter that really set the tone for the Portland Trailblazers. And the rest was history. The Denver Nuggets just couldn't keep pace with the backcourt of the Portland Trailblazers. And, if Denver cannot defend the three better against Portland and defend the perimeter in game 2, I think the Denver Nuggets, they might be going home in 5 games, because what I saw today was really alarming from that defense and from guys like, I know Porter Jr., he was 1 for 10 from 3. That's not going to help your cause. But if they can't shoot the 3 better, if they can't defend better, this might be a short series as well for the Denver Nuggets. But let's see. Going into a comment section, my guy Adam Barber says Bucks and Heat, they came out cold. That was a great game, man. Really great game. Great way to start off these playoffs. Also, Adam says, I don't really consider it an upset. It's not really an upset, but the reason why I'm saying it's an upset because I'm going by like the seeding. The Denver Nuggets are 3rd and the Portland Trailblazers are 6th. So that's why I'm going by it as an upset. Casey King says Blazers look good, and I have them pulling off the upset and winning this series in 7. Yeah, I had the Blazers in 7. I think that this will be a good series, but hopefully Denver can defend the perimeter a little bit better in game 2 and try to find a way to shut down Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. And Casey King says the Blazers are going to win in 6 games, and Denver, or if Denver stays in the games, I totally agree with you on that, Casey. But fellas, guys, moving on to our baseball topic for tonight. We had a lot of great baseball games on the docket, as well as the NBA that we just talked about, with all the playoff games. But moving into the baseball segment for tonight, let's talk about the Phillies and the Red Sox. You guys all know that I had to talk about this game because I am a diehard Phillies fan, and the Philadelphia Phillies dropped their 2nd consecutive game to the Boston Red Sox. It's their 4th loss in a row. They are now 22-24, 2 games under 500. And, it's very disappointing. It's very disappointing as a Phillies fan. The Phillies got off to a really bad start in this game. They trailed 2-0 after the 3rd inning. They got a run back, trailed 2-1, and then Boston gets another 2 runs. It's 4-1 just like that. And when you dig yourself that big of a hole, it's really hard to climb out of, even though the Phillies with Rhys Hoskins getting I believe his 100th career home run. Congratulations to him. The Phillies battled back, but they just couldn't get that big hit that they needed to win this game in the 9th inning. It all came down to that as Matt Barnes, the closer of the Boston Red Sox, he struggled. He struggled in that ninth inning. He gave up a single to Ronald Torreyes to lead off that ninth inning. Then Andrew McCutchen struck out. Then Gene Segura drew a walk. So you got runners at first and second with one out for Bryce Harper. And folks, like I told my guy Ace tonight on Messenger, I think Bryce Harper's hurt. I think there's something wrong with Bryce Harper because this Bryce Harper does not look like the Bryce Harper that I've come to, or I've grown and loved in Philadelphia with the Phillies. Because when you look at his at bats in this game, and especially the at bat in the seventh inning and the ninth inning, those at bats were really troublesome. You look at the seventh inning at bat where he just takes three pitches. Good morning, good afternoon, and goodbye. You never see Bryce Harper step up to the plate and not swing. It was like watching a pitcher at the plate and just looking at him like he's absolutely helpless. That's not Bryce Harper. There's no way that a healthy Bryce Harper stands up to the plate in the seventh inning of that game and doesn't take a swing. There's no way whatsoever. There's something wrong with Bryce Harper. Maybe it's like something to do with his shoulder or some type of nagging injury that he's doesn't want to tell the media, but there's something wrong with Bryce Harper. This is not the Bryce Harper that is the superstar of the Philadelphia Phillies. There's absolutely no way. And then you look at that bat in the ninth inning when the Phillies had runners at first and second. You guys know the contact that he made when he did foul off a couple of pitches. They were very weak contact. Like it was almost like he was bunting the ball or he was not even taking a full swing. And you look at when he grounded out to first base, he hit a very weak ground ball. I think the exit velocity on that swing was like 76 miles an hour. That's not the Bryce Harper that I know and love. That is not the Bryce Harper. There's something wrong with this Bryce Harper. I know that Bryce Harper had like a shoulder problem that kept him out for a couple of games. And I think when the Phillies had to use him in a pinch hit situation because they ran out of everybody on the bench, he just stepped up to the plate, took four pitches, strike one, strike two, ball one, and then strike three. He never swung. So I think there's something that is bothering Bryce Harper in his shoulder right now. I hope that he gets it fixed because if Bryce Harper remains like this, the Phillies are in deep trouble because they can't have a Bryce Harper that is not producing and expect to somehow, some way try to contend for the playoffs. So the Phillies, they need to figure out what's wrong with Bryce Harper fast. If it requires a stint on the injured list, fine. Put Bryce Harper on the injured list because let's say he misses like 15 days to a month. That's better than him, being very unproductive for this entire season. But going into our comment section, Casey King says, how about my Dodgers taking down the Giants? Yes, Casey, we'll get into that game next, but congratulations to your Dodgers on that win. And also Ace says, every time the Phillies lose, it makes my night. Ace, I think at this point, since the short time that me and you have known each other, I think every time the Lakers lose and the Phillies lose, it makes your night. Maybe also when the A's lose, it makes your night as well, because you will see my rants about the A's and the Phillies. But like I said, once again, the Phillies, they got to find out what's wrong with Bryce Harper. They got to find out what's wrong with Bryce Harper and maybe put him on the injured list, or who knows. But find out what's wrong with Bryce Harper because this is not the same Bryce Harper that you signed to a 13-year, $330+ million contract. But going into our next game, into the game that Casey mentioned, the Dodgers and the San Francisco Giants from Oracle Park in San Francisco. And the Dodgers beat the Giants by a final score of 6-3 at Oracle Park. And folks, I think that this game, it came down to the Giants bullpen being absolute crap. Because right now, when you look at this game, right? Scott Kazmir in his return to the big leagues, congratulations to him on making it back to the big leagues for what it seems like the 100th comeback try that he's had. But he comes back to the big leagues tosses 4 innings, gives up 1 run, which was a solo home run to a red-hot Max Muncy. I mean, he shouldn't be disappointed in his performance. He should be very happy with his performance. And then you look at, the Giants bullpen. The Giants bullpen, Jarlin Garcia, he gives up an earned run after Casimir leaves in the 5th inning. Tropiano comes in, pitches 2 innings, gives up a run, and then I believe Alvarez also gave up a couple of unearned runs, but the Giants had a couple of errors. This was about the Giants bullpen stinking up the joint, and it was about the Giants stinking it up on the field. I was watching the game on Fox today, and the Fox telecast, they said that the Giants had made history as the first team in San Francisco Giants history to commit the lowest amount of errors in the first 50 game or first 45 games. And the Giants, right after they said it, commits 2 errors in this game, which really cost them in this ball game. And you also got to give credit, to the Dodgers hitters. Max Muncy was great. He had he had 3 hits. Albert Pujols has had a resurgence since signing with the Dodgers. He had a hit and an RBI. Gavin Lux was great. Austin Barnes hit a home run. He was great in this game. DJ Peters, Matt Beatty. These guys, the thing about the Dodgers that I really admire is that a lot of their superstars right now are on the injured list. And what do? They have these guys that they get from the minor leagues, and they plug them in, and they don't miss a beat. And that's just what is amazing about this Andrew Friedman regime, that they just don't miss a beat, even though their stars are all on the injured list. And you look at the pitching. Walker Buehler was tremendous. 7 innings, 6 hits, an earned run, a walk, struck out 5. He made the Giants hitters look absolutely foolish in this ball game. And then Kenley Jansen had a clean inning in his inning of pitch, with an inning pitched, no hits, no runs, no walks, 1 strikeout. It's very encouraging to see from Kenley Jansen. And if he can keep it up, the Dodgers will be even more scary than they are right now. And let's see. Adam Barber says Scott Kazmir did a decent job. He was good, 4 innings, just 1 run on the Max Muncy home run. But other than that, he was unblemished. Hopefully that, he can stick with the San Francisco Giants, because as an A's fan, I really like Scott Kazmir, and I really appreciate him for what he did for our organization in the time that he was here. And, you always root for these guys and these comeback stories to try to pan out. And, hopefully Scott Kazmir, his comeback can pan out with the San Francisco Giants. But folks, it's been a great show. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this special episode of The Night Shift. But it's time for tonight's final thoughts. All right, folks, it was a short episode of The Night Shift. We talked about all the NBA playoff action that happened today, as well as some baseball action that happened here tonight. But folks, before I get into my final thoughts, I just want to thank our fans once again, our great fans, for tuning in, staying up late, tuning into our show. I want to thank Casey King, James Gonzalez, my guy Ace, looking forward to Jeopardy tomorrow morning. Also Brandon Herrera, and my guy Callan McClurg, who you will see back here on The Night Shift next weekend. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of The Night Shift. But my final thoughts for this show, almost said this is gay, man, but my final thoughts for this show is about the Oakland Athletics. When you look at the A's right now, the Oakland A's, they won today. They won 6-2 over the Los Angeles Angels. They are now 28-19. They have taken back control of the AL West, and they are now, I believe, a game and a half up on the Houston Astros for first place in the American League West. And when you look at the Oakland A's schedule coming up, it's fairly easy, folks. It really is. And I think that this this next stretch for the A's is a very pivotal stretch because, like I've been saying, and I don't know if you guys watched my video that I did on Thursday afternoon, but I said the A's, they needed to go for it. They need to go for it this year because Matt Chapman, Matt Olson, and half of our ball club is a free agent at the end of the 2023 season. So that means we've only got through 2 more seasons with them before they are going to be free agents and they are going to walk out of Oakland. So what the A's need to do is they need to throw it back to 2014 and just go for it. Y'all remember 2014 when they acquired John Lester, they got Jeff Samardzija. They also, had a really good team. But they went for it. They went for it to try to win a World Series. And I think Billy Beane, David Force, and the A's front office, they have to do that now. Because when you think about the Oakland A's right now, Chapman's gone, Olson's gone. All these guys are going to be gone after 2023. Heck, they might even be gone after next season since the A's always like to trade them 1 year before they hit free agency so they can get a huge haul back in return. So they have to go for it. We only have this season and probably next season before all these guys are either going to be traded or they're going to walk in free agency. So they have to try to go for it now. And if you look at this upcoming schedule for the A's, you got right now they have the final game tomorrow against the Los Angeles Angels. Then they have 3 against the Seattle Mariners at the Oakland Coliseum. Then 4 against the Angels at the Oakland Coliseum. And then Memorial Day, they've got the Seattle Mariners for 3. Then they got the Colorado Rockies, one of the worst teams right now in all of baseball, at Coors Field. And then they have the Arizona Diamondbacks for 2, who they swept back in April when they went to Arizona. Then they have the Kansas City Royals for 4 at the Coliseum. Then the Angels for 3. And then after that, they have a day off. And then it's New York, the Yankees in the Bronx. But you look at this stretch with the Angels, the Mariners, the Angels again, the Mariners again, the Rockies, the Arizona, Royals, then the Angels again. You're playing a bunch of garbage teams, which you have to feast on. And if the A's can win every one of these series, which, in baseball, like a lot of things happen for a reason in baseball. If they can win each one of these series or just split these series, I think the A's could come out of that stretch with the best record in baseball after, what day is it? June 16th. After that, that's the final game of that stretch. June 16th. If they can win every game, or not win every game, you don't have to sweep because sweeps are luxury. But if you can win every series, take care of your business. By June 17th, I think the A's will have the best record in all of baseball. And I think it will be a sign to Billy Beane and this front office that, hey, we got a really talented group here in Oakland. This might be our biggest and best chance to try to win it all. And it will be sprung upon Billy Beane and the front office to try to go for it and land the top players that the A's need to compete for a championship. Like, the A's need an ace right now. I want the Oakland A's to go and get Max Scherzer or Sonny Gray from the Cincinnati Reds. Right now, the Nationals are scuffling. They're in last place, or I believe they're in second to the last place or last place in the NL East. And, if they continue to scuffle and they continue where they are once the trade deadline arrives, I think the Nationals, they have to trade Scherzer because Scherzer's a free agent after this season. So he's got to be traded. And if Billy Beane sees that the A's have the best record in baseball, he might be inclined to gut the farm system to get Max Scherzer on a rental, get him for a couple of months, because you need a guy right now that you can point to and be like, hey, when he's on the mound, that's an automatic win for the Oakland A's, which they don't have right now. They have a bunch of 2s and 3s and 4s in their starting rotation. They need that bona fide ace. And if they can get the best record in baseball by June 17th, I think Billy Beane and the A's will be inclined to trade for either a Trevor Story to help bolster the shortstop position, or trade for a Max Scherzer or even Sonny Gray and give up a huge haul in return to try to win it all this season, which, as an A's fan, I would be super ecstatic if they did. But Going into our comment section, James Gonzalez with one last comment. He says, I'll be at the A's Angels game tomorrow. James, hope you enjoy that game, my man. And, I actually hope that your Angels win that game because the A's, they already clinched the series. So if they sweep, it will be great. But I don't really anticipate the A's winning because sweeps are very hard. So I think your Angels are going to come out fighting in this game. And hopefully it's a great game and you enjoy that game tomorrow at the Big A. But folks, it's been a great show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Once again, some programming notes. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow for the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network's Jeopardy trivia show. I will be on it to defend my title at 10 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow. So make sure you guys tune in for that. And also make sure you guys tune in on Monday. I won't be there for Wild Sports Talk, but my guys Loro, Ace, and also Sammy Sharp is returning to Wild Sports Talk after a couple of weeks on hiatus. He will be back Monday for Wild Sports Talk. Ace, Loro, and Sammy, they will be there to break down all the NBA action and also the baseball action and also some of the wild and wacky stories in the world of sports on Monday. So make sure you guys tune in for that. But once again, it's been a great show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on the final solo edition of the Night Shift. For me, next week, I will be joined back by my co-host, Callan McClurk. So looking so forward to that. But great show, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys all on. I won't even see you guys next week because I have to work the entire next week. But my guys, Adam Barber, Sammy Sharp, and Loro, they will see you guys on Monday on Wild Sports Talk. Have a great night, everybody.